You're listening to the Drinks and a Movie podcast, hosted by Rudy Ruiz. Spoiler alert.
All right, everybody, welcome to Drinks and a Movie podcast. Thanks for tuning in. I'm back with my co-host, Carissa. We're going to be talking about the final film in Lucio Fulci's Gates of Hell trilogy, House by the Cemetery from 1981. But before we get into the movie review, I'm going to solo try out a brand new whiskey. This one dropped on October 4th, a distillery-only release from one of my favorite spots, Nelson's Greenbrier Distillery from Tennessee. This is their new Greenbrier Tennessee whiskey, bottled and bond. All right, coming in at 6 years old and 100 proof, of course, and following all those, kind of traditions of the Bottled and Bond Act from 1897. So Tennessee whiskey, wheated mash bill, charcoal mellowed. You've heard me talk a lot about this distillery before. I'm super stoked to try this one. They sent it to me for review, so thank you everyone who made that happen. I really appreciate that. I love you guys. I'm actually warming up on their standard Nelson's Greenbrier Tennessee whiskey, which, I've done on the show a few times. We've done a whole episode with one of the brand ambassadors where I tried these for the first time and first fell in love. And I've since tried out and reviewed a bunch of their cask series. I've done some blind tasting videos and all kinds of stuff. So the regular Tennessee whiskey is actually pretty widely available. It's about $35, 91 proof. A little on the young side, but I think it's good. For me, I've never been a huge basic Maker's Mark fan. Weller Special Reserve, I think, is fine. If I'm going to go for like an easy sipping bourbon for an old fashioned or just a sip, or even this is one I really love introducing people who aren't too familiar with it. The Nelson Greenbrier Tennessee whiskey is kind of my go-to for that. So I've burned through a few bottles of this. This is probably my third or fourth one. I just opened up so I can kind of warm my palate up for the Bottle and Bond. If you haven't tried it before, I highly recommend it. It's really exceptional too if you like old fashions, to put it with like a big ice cube and some cinnamon bitters. Don't even bother adding sugar to it. Just stir it up with some cinnamon bitters. Big ice cube, and it is a absolute banger. But yeah, let's get into this Bottle and Bond. I'm so excited for this. I mean, having this whiskey now at 6 years old and 100 proof, this should be a really excellent expression. I'm holding the two bottles up to the light side by side, and you can definitely see that color difference too, which is always cool and interesting. I think the regular expression is, I want to say, around 3 years old. I heard or read at some point, roughly. But yeah, here we go. So I'm just swirling this up. I did let this sit in my glass for about 5 to 10-ish minutes before recording. That way it would have a little bit of a chance to open up. But oh, wow. Funny enough, this nose reminds me a little more of their classic or reserve bourbon, like almost that kind of high rye mash bill nose as opposed to the wheated. Interesting. I dig that. So it's pretty strong, punches through. It's very bright, and man, it's almost, I feel like I've said this about the reserve, it almost has a kind of gummy candy, this might sound weird, but if you ever had Swedish fish, like the red little Swedish fish or whatever, like gummy candy, wow, it is all that on the nose. Crazy. Like more fruit forward candy, fruit hard candy kind of vibe. Now that kind of, bourbony caramel note. Yeah, it's tough for me my nose is a little whack right now, so it's tough for me to kind of pick anything else out, but yeah, man, it's definitely like fruit forward. I was not expecting that at all. Very fruit forward on the nose. So here we go. Here's to the palate. Wow, that really carried through. It tastes just like the nose. Let me see. I'm going to go in for the second sip now. Yeah, that's good. I mean, as you would expect, it's like every aspect of it is similar to the original expression, but just elevated. I feel like that 100 proof is like right in the pocket. That's really good. The flavors are pretty bright. I'm getting that fruit forward taste on the palate, which is really cool. It definitely goes down easy. Like it's a really easy 100 proof sipper. So if you're someone who's like, not maybe kind of worried about hearing that, I know some people trip out just at hearing that number. It's a really good 100 proof sipper for sure. Not too harsh. Man, total Swedish fish. That's crazy, but that's good. Now getting into the third and fourth sip, I do get a little more of like a spice on the back end. Maybe a little bit of like what is that, like a clove type of vibe? Yeah, I'd say maybe a little bit of a clove type of spice on the back end. I've got my nosing kit here to kind of help me out. So I definitely get that. Yeah, definitely, taste that or smell now that corn kind of coming through. A little bit of like an orange zest coming through now, like that kind of fruit forwardness is becoming a little more citrusy. Yeah, that's a good one and still consistent. Yeah, as I go into it, those flavors stay consistent, but it is getting a little more into your basic bourbon, kind of a little hint of the oak, a little bit, like I said, that clove spice, a little bit of a caramel kind of note, like everything you'd expect from a bourbon, of course. But I really like that fruit forward quality that's coming out of it. And I'm curious how this is going to kind of evolve as it opens up. This is just the very first pour, very first impression. But yeah, I'm really digging this. I thought it was going to be more of a dark, deeper caramel or butterscotchy kind of flavor. I wasn't expecting that fruit forward vibe, but I really dig that. Yeah, that's really good. I'd be interested and hope that this becomes a normal release sometime down the line. I don't know if that's part of the plan at all, but it would be really cool if they did do that. Like I would definitely be reaching for this one. Yeah, so if you're lucky enough to get a chance to try this one, please do. If you're able to get one, I think at the distillery they're around $50 or something. And again, thank you so much to everyone over there. You know who you are, guys, for sending this my way. I love it. I really appreciate that you guys kind of hit me with this so that I can review it and share it with more people. For anyone who's interested in trying their other expressions, again, I've talked about them a lot on the show. Their kind of core lineup is very available at most stores, and Total Wine has them and all that, like most places. And I just found just yesterday that their sherry cask finish, which is my favorite of that lineup besides the honey, is now in Southern California. I saw one a few months ago at High Times Wine Cellars in Costa Mesa. And just yesterday, I saw another one at a new Total Wine in Hollywood. So I'm from Los Angeles, California. So I'm happy to see them slowly kind of come to Los Angeles. If you ever see that sherry cask one, that's a must have, in my opinion, especially as we get into the cooler weather over here, like fall, Christmassy. It's just a perfect, that's going to be a really good Thanksgiving pour or Halloween night pour, I actually shared that with Alec Gillis on a podcast episode recently, creature creator, special effects guy. If you haven't seen that, go check it out on the YouTube channel. But yeah, Nelson's Greenbrier Bottle and Bond. Stoked. It's good. Go try it. Go get yourself some. And I will definitely be making a video review of this soon. Probably comparing it with some of their other core lineup just to see, and as well as the cast strength. They sent me that one as well. So maybe I'll have to do the regular, this one in the cast strength and like a blind and kind of see how that turns out and how this opens up. So stay tuned. Hopefully in the next couple weeks here, we'll have a video review on this with some comparisons. So anyway, that's a wrap on the whiskey review. Now let's move on to the movie. We're talking House by the Cemetery by Lucio Fulci.
We decided it would be a vacation. I do my research and you and Bob, you can go out. It's beautiful. Peterson was reading up about a certain Dr. Freudstein, who had a penchant for illegal experiments.
This house is exactly like the one in the old photo.
Signs, the warnings of this house. Draws me like an infernal magnet. Frightens me.
Bob, are you down there?
Oh, God. He needs human victims to renew his cells. It's how he stays alive. Keep away from the door.
How many more are doomed to follow?
We are back, Carissa and I, with one of the last horror movie films of the season, where we hopefully got one more at least after this. Yeah, this month went by way too fast. And that's even with us starting in September. I think we did Last House on the Left in September.
We did. It's wild. I can't believe it. Like, it's been crazy.
Oh, yeah. But tonight, we're going to be talking about the third and final film in Lucio Fulci's Gates of Hell trilogy. We've been covering that, City of the Living Dead, The Beyond. Now we're on to House by the Cemetery from 1981, also starring Catriona MacColl, who's been in all three of these films.
My girl. Yeah. I saw her again. I was like, hooray. It's just like trilogy of terror. I love it.
So, yeah, we're back. The House by the Cemetery, Lucio Fulci. This story, I feel, was pretty straightforward. I'm going to just check out the IMDb synopsis. I haven't read this yet. So a New England home is terrorized by a series of murders, unbeknownst to the guests that a gruesome secret is hiding in the basement. All right.
Typical.
So this story I felt was probably the most straightforward one of the bunch, or maybe not. I mean, I guess City of the Living Dead was pretty straightforward as well. I guess with like the very basic plot, all of them are kind of straightforward, maybe.
Yeah.
But this one had the least amount of like shit that doesn't make sense happening.
Exactly.
There's still some things I don't quite understand. So maybe we can, discover that together. But I mean, my first impression of this, I think it's really good atmosphere. The little boy was super annoying, Bobby. Like that kind of like almost killed the movie for me.
Dude, them naming Bob killed the movie right away from me. I'm like, who's naming this 5-year-old blonde hair, blue-eyed kid Bob? I'm like, okay. And then he was, but man, that well, we'll get into it, but
yeah.
Some parts, like some of his acting was pretty good. There was one part where I was like, wow, this performance right here would have been on my top 10 list, but just like the 10 seconds. That's it.
I wonder if part of what makes it really bad, at least for me, is just like the dubbing, if that kind of kills it. And it's funny you brought up our top 10 performance list that just came out today. Make sure you go watch that on YouTube, everybody. It's on the YouTube, not on the audio podcast. And give it a like and a comment. But anyway, I mentioned Danielle Harris being my number one, like kind of favorite horror performance. And the fact that in Halloween 4 and 5, she's like 10 or 12 years old and completely carries both those films on her shoulders. And, I was just reflecting on how I said all that and then like watching this movie. And I'm like, see, this is a perfect example of when you have a kid that's like not quite on the level. Like if it was Danielle Harris playing Bobby,
you're like, it'd be completely different.
I would think I would feel a little better about it. Like I would not have felt bad if this kid got whacked, to be honest. But maybe it's just the fact of the dubbing. I don't know.
Or maybe you just saw Terrifier 3, so you're like, kill all the kids, bro.
But yeah, I mean, I thought this one was pretty good. I liked it for the most part. I really like the atmosphere. So that first kill was really good too. I just like that, like that. I guess you would consider like a cold open, just like the chick wakes up and then of course, like of course, right? Just like the first shot of the movie, and then just looking for the dude and gets like the knife through the head and all. Just like a great opening. And I don't know what time period.
Out of the mouth.
Yeah, that's right. That was a great shot.
I love that.
Just like coming out the front. Yeah. And the dude just kind of like hanging on the door and stuff. So excellent cold open. The musical score was really interesting to me because it wasn't by Fabio Frizzi this time. I forgot the name of the composer. Let me see if I can pull it up real quick. But immediately
Walter Rizzati.
Yeah, Walter Rizzati.
Alessandro Blanc.
But yeah, it's quite a departure from the vibe of the last two films. I'm used to that Fabio Frizzi kind of score. So I thought that was interesting to go a different route. I'd be interested to hear, what the deal was behind that, what it may have been. Because that alone gives it a pretty different tone, know?
And this is going to sound crazy, and I don't want to make this sound like, not in a negative way, but just like it felt more of a cookie cutter horror movie because it didn't have that score, it didn't have the music, because I feel like that music really like makes it just feel different. And I feel like this one, I don't know, I feel like this movie, I really liked this movie. I enjoyed it, but the music didn't stand out to me this time, as opposed to the two other movies where I was like, ooh, and I like noticed it more. You know what I mean?
I mean, I like it. I like the melodies that they play in this one, and it does have like a creepy vibe. Like it pops to me, not on the level of the first two, kind of like you said, but it's just different. It's a very different flavor, but still good. It does make me, again, really consider how much the score from The Beyond elevates that fucking movie.
Yeah.
Like that movie is nothing without that music. You know what I mean? Like a lot is forgiven because the score is so like, but yeah, I mean, what else is your kind of first takes on this film?
So with this one, I was waiting for it to get real weird. I was waiting for something to happen in this, and nothing crazy happened. I loved the other girl actor in it. And I thought the story, it just kind of progressed very like naturally, nothing crazy. I loved the kills in it. I thought the kills were so
Hmm.
fun. A lot of them were like so fun. I really enjoyed this one. Like, the story, it's kind of, you kind of figure it out right away, but I really liked it. I liked everything about it. I liked the lore of like the little girl and the painting and, oh, you see her in the real life, and then the
That
mannequin and the babysitter. And I was like, oh, this is pretty
Yeah,
cool.
that first shot, like one when the opening credits start and it's just that exterior shot of the house,
Mm-hmm.
and the credits are just rolling over that shot. And this kind of thing trips me out because I'm like, okay, so did they figure out the timing of the credits? Like, all right, the credits are going to take this long, and we've already determined this, so we're going to roll camera for this one because as soon as the credits stop, they do the long zoom, like through the trees, right? Like through the tree branches into the window, and that creepy shot of the girl, May,
Yeah.
like opening the curtain, and then it goes to freeze frame and kind of turns into the portrait. It's
Yeah.
really creepy vibe. And then when the mom comes and she's like, "What girl?" and she just like
That
disappeared
girl
from the
in the
portrait.
window.
Yeah,
Yeah.
super creepy. But yeah, that's just wild to me. Like, I don't know if maybe I'm just being silly and they just like keep rolling like a few seconds over and over again and we can't tell. But
No, I
because
think
it's a
that was
seamless shot.
deliberate. It
Yeah.
seemed like it was deliberate. And that's like a really cool, interesting thing to just be deliberate about, because usually in our minds that would be like a second thought. But I feel like that, they did that on purpose. But what an interesting thing to do on purpose.
Yeah, no, it's really cool. It's just a cool shot. And I love that. Like, I do believe it is deliberate. It's for sure intentional.
Yeah.
I guess I'm kind of nerding out at the prospect of they took time to like, all right, the credits are gonna be
5 seconds
1 minute
for this
long.
one.
So we
Yeah.
have to roll this for 1 minute. Then you're going to do this long ass zoom into that window. And someone's got to cue this little girl when to open. And, that just like underappreciated filmmaking,
I
that
know 100%, 100%. Man, the zooms though. I loved the zooms in this movie. And I
this
love
was,
the eye zooms.
yeah, this one has some really slick. I mean, they all do like all his films. This one in particular had some like very slick camera moves, like just kind of working through the house and all that. And there's one where the mom is like screaming when she's in the kitchen, and the camera, I don't even know how they pulled this off because it almost like, if I remember correctly, it starts in like a close up and it like spirals up and out and like ends up like in this high angle near the ceiling looking down on her
Mhm.
and this wide shot, but it like does like a semicircle around her and moves up. Like, yeah, just really slick camera moves for sure. Did you feel, I mean, you mentioned a little bit earlier that you thought you had it figured out. So you knew that Dr. Freudstein was just a dude that was living off like dead bodies for however
No,
long he's
no,
been
no,
there.
no. I was like, because I was just like, all right. I was like, I know they're all like kind of connected somewhere, but I'm like, but what could it be? What is it? And I was like, oh, it's like a zombie person from the other. Or like, what's going on here? So no, this one, I just kind of went in blind, even though it basically tells you what it is. But I just try to like take this one as its own movie because I wasn't sure how connected all three of them would really be.
Yeah, well, they're
You know
not
what I
like,
mean?
they're
They're
only connected in that it's like the gates of hell. But
exactly.
that's like, that was one thing that was interesting to me. And I had to relook it up. I'm like, was I wrong? And this isn't the third movie. And it is. It like
No, it is.
definitively
It's the
is,
last one.
but
You're right.
it doesn't, it was very clear this gates of hell idea in the other two movies of the priest hangs himself and that opens up the portal
Yeah.
and it's All Souls Day and the barrier opens up. And then in the second movie, they killed the guy under the house and he was a warlock and that caused a rift in the dimensions or whatever. That one didn't make much sense, but you can kind of get that. This one didn't really have that. Like, there wasn't anything to do with like
Man.
gates of hell. It's just this like
Yeah.
zombie doctor guy keeping himself alive in the
Yeah.
cellar.
So that's the thing. I mean, and I wasn't sure what to expect because, like, when you hear Gates of Hell trilogy, you're like, oh, it's a trilogy. Something's going to be connecting it besides it being the same actress in all three of them. So
Right.
I was okay. I was like, well, something maybe from the first two will be tied into this one. And literally, it was like nothing besides
Yeah.
the fact that creepy stuff is happening.
Right. Yeah. I just thought it was going to be another portal situation where, especially when she moves the rug, right, and then
Yeah.
the
And
blood
she's,
comes out, and it's the
yeah.
like the bear, like that was a really cool shot, and the
Mhm.
blood is like perfectly going around the
Around the whole
cross.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah. But it's like, oh, okay, so like the portal to hell is like in the basement, and maybe this is like the guardian. Dr. Freudstein is like
Exactly. Like something.
the
It has to be
barrier,
like,
you know. But it wasn't that at all. Just like, oh, this guy is keeping himself alive by like killing people and regenerating cells
yeah.
and
Oh, nice.
yeah.
Nice. Cool, cool, cool. We're into that. We're into that. Which I mean,
Yeah.
I think it was a fun story. There was nothing crazy in it. There is nothing like hard to understand. It was basically just this guy be killing people. I thought, but I did think the babysitter was in on something.
Yeah, I didn't get that. Anne, right? I mean,
Yeah, I
first,
was like, ooh, it's her. Like me, being like, oh, it's this person. And at the beginning, when,
yeah.
the mannequin's head falls off and it's like, like a person on the inside and the little girl was like screaming, I was like, oh, and I was having flashbacks to like
Yeah.
Anne. And I
It was
was
like
like,
foreshadowing that it was her. Like she knew she was gonna
yeah,
die.
I was
And I
like, oh,
thought that was
her.
kind of cool. I like that it was like the real person, and then it's the mannequin, but then it has
Mm-hmm.
like real blood and all that, and it's
Yeah, like
made up
guts
to
on the
look like her
inside.
face. And then when she first comes in to take the babysitting job, like you said, there's the flashback and you see that it's supposed to be her. I was like, that's a pretty cool. But yeah, she seems creepy and like she's in on it. And once that one lady gets like her throat slashed like 3 times, which was a
Oh my
really good
gosh, the
gory
poor,
moment. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, she didn't deserve that.
The poor the real estate agent. Oh
Yeah.
my God.
But the Dr. Freudstein drags the body away. And then later we see Anne like cleaning it. And this was one of those moments where I was like, did I miss a scene? She's
Yes,
cleaning
me
it.
too. I was like, oh my God, let me
Yeah.
rewind. And
And
I'm
then
like, wait a
the
second.
mom comes in and like doesn't
Yeah.
say anything about it. They just start talking. And it's like, but there's blood all over the floor that this chick's cleaning up. So it's like, oh, she is in on it and she's hiding the evidence. But then when she gets trapped down there, she obviously gets whacked. And that's a really good there are some really good moments of suspense and all that. Like,
Mhm.
even though I feel like they play this idea of like, oh, they get locked in the cellar and they're banging on the door, and are they going to open it up in time? When by the time you get to like it happens to Bobby too, it's like, okay, well, we just did this. But where they do give it some edge is kind of reminiscent of when Christopher George is trying to break her out of the coffin in City of the Living Dead. Is
Yeah.
when he tells the kid, and this shot was so
Oh,
good. This
yeah.
like made it like I said, gave it a little more edge even than City of the Living Dead. Is the kid's against the door banging on it. He's scared to death, and the dad gets the hatchet and he's like, all
Yeah.
right,
It's like,
get away from the door.
because
And
like,
the
okay.
hand but the
Oh.
hand like pushes his head against it. And
Oh
then
my
he
God.
hits. Because I'm thinking too, I was like, hey, this is a Lucio Fulci movie. Like, they're not necessarily above like whacking some kid right now.
100%.
Yeah. And so I was like, whoa. But that was a really great moment, great shot. I gotta remember that one.
Yeah, that one was fun. That was
Yeah.
definitely fun. Ooh.
Yeah, I mean for the most part, I think this plot, of this like evil monster guy in the basement is like kind of interesting. I honestly think it could have been executed a little bit better, though. Like maybe there could have been, I don't know. I don't even know exactly what I would want differently besides Bobby being less annoying. But yeah, I don't know. What's
Bobby.
your thoughts on that?
Honestly, in my opinion, I was expecting something else. This to me, I was just like, when it ended, I was like, oh, okay. Like it was just so cookie cutter for a horror film coming from him. I just thought it was going to be something insane. I thought I was going to see something crazy. I thought something was not going to make sense. And I'm going to stay up all night thinking about like, what does this mean? What does this mean? Like, what
Yeah.
is going on? Is there any way to connect it? But I didn't get any of that here.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't get any sort of, it was like a very just standalone movie. Like, and I
Yeah.
love, like, I think I feel like this one was just to kind of, show off the effects, show off a few kills.
Hmm.
But other than that, I was just like, all right, there's a over 100-year-old guy living down, and we don't even
Yeah.
know how he's doing it. How is he staying alive? Was it black magic?
Yeah, I don't know.
What was
Just
it?
some kind of crazy science. I feel like the design of Dr. Freudstein is kind of interesting. It reminds me of
I loved it.
yeah. It reminds me a little bit, and I don't know, maybe I'll feel differently if I pull a picture up side by side, but it really made me think of Dr. Satan from House of a Thousand Corpses. I don't remember if you ever ended up watching that one, but Rob Zombie's first movie.
I really didn't. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But I'm looking at the thing.
A little bit. Like I said, maybe if I saw the picture again, I'm just going off memory, but it kind of reminds me slightly of that. Just like the shape of the head and like the mouth, right? It's like the weird.
Well, yeah, because he has the mask on, but without the mask, it's like all the skin kind of connected and like
something like that.
I definitely see that.
It was a cool design, just kind of weird that like one hand was all like creepy monster and the other one almost looked like a little kid's hand.
Yeah,
that was odd.
Like grandma's strong hand, but I did like when he did stab him, like all the maggots and like he was rotting on the inside,
and all the chocolate pudding was spilling out.
Yeah, I love that. But I was just like, bro, what's this guy doing? Like, why are you just gonna stay alive in this cellar? You're not even going out and doing anything. You don't look good,
right?
Like, what is this? What's the point?
I was hoping for a little bit more of a fight as well, because I like when the dad goes to stab him and he just like boom catches his hand and is like holding him back. I was like, oh, here we go. He's like super strong too, and it doesn't quite happen. I will say, I do love the shot when the mom and the kid go up the stairs and there's just like the crack, and she's trying to like open it up and get out. Yeah, and because that's like on my Blu-ray cover, that's the bottom is like the house and the title, and the top is like that image of like the crack and like her face right there. It's a really cool looking shot, and it's definitely poster worthy. But I like that. I wasn't expecting her to get whacked in the end too. I was like, oh, shit, okay.
I wasn't expecting that either. But and like she's getting dragged downstairs. There's like head hit, head hit. I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, it's not comical, but it's kind of like comical. But yeah, he dragged her down and killed her. I thought for sure she would get out with, her son. And man, he doesn't even make it either.
Yeah, this is the thing. So he dies and he's a ghost in the house now, right? With the daughter,
girl, and that old lady.
Yeah, Mrs. Freudstein.
The wife. So I'm like, okay, but the kids are there. So what happened? The parents' ghosts don't get to live on in the house?
That's the thing. And they're just kind of walking off into the woods. And I wish it was, I don't know. Do I? I mean, I guess, you don't want to necessarily like see the kid get killed. And I guess the twist is thinking he got out, but in reality, he just got whacked,
Yeah.
And she pulls him up and she's like, well, I told you not to go in there numerous times, guy.
Right? Adults never want to listen.
Yeah. They just do whatever they want to do.
Whatever they want to do. I mean, this was a good movie. I don't know if that was supposed to be like a good twist at the end. It was just, I don't know. I thought this one was super fun to watch. I enjoyed watching it. It felt more like comfortable watching because you're like, okay, this is what's going to happen.
Yeah.
It's more paint by the numbers kind of movie.
Yeah, definitely more straightforward for sure.
But
that bat scene went on a little too long though. I'll tell you that.
That was just like, what the fuck is this?
It was almost like the tarantula spider scene in the Beyond, but like
which I loved.
Way less crazy and cool. Yeah. And just that noise, I was like trying to lower the volume. Like, good fucking God, man, just stop.
Yeah, like, can you not right now?
Yeah,
we're fun.
Yeah,
the effects were really fun, and yeah, the creature design for him was really fun too. Like his like face and everything, 100%.
I did like, man, this was a really good shot when I think it's when Norman, the husband, who's like trying to do research on the guy that was there before that killed himself, his colleague or whatever.
Yeah.
And he's listening to the tape. which is always funny, right? There's always like a tape of the predecessor, like
There's always a
giving
tape.
just enough like information to put the pieces together. Like, I better make this tape before I die in case someone randomly comes to the library and decides to
Exactly. Wants
listen
to
to it.
figure out what's going on.
But when he's talking about how it killed like his wife or whatever, and then the kids, and it got the kids, but the camera is kind of like moving through the cellar, and it just like all the body parts.
Yeah. Yeah. That's it. Yeah. I completely forgot about that. It's like a butcher table with like the arms and the hands and everything.
Yeah. That was pretty gnarly.
Yeah. That was kind of unexpected too. Because nobody was going to go in the cellar. It was hammered shut. It was nailed shut.
Yeah. Man, so I was just going to say, where do you rank this among the other two films? Like, if you were to put them in order.
It's hard to say because as like a movie, this one was more cookie. Like, this is like the beginning, the middle, the end. This is what you understand. I really liked Beyond. I think that one would be like, I think that one's going to be my top one out of all of them. Even though there was so much stuff, I was like, what the hell? I was like, I don't get it. And I know I told you, I was like, I don't like get a bunch of this stuff.
Yeah, neither do I.
But I really did like the Beyond. Like, I really, really, really like enjoyed watching it. And then City of the Living Dead, which I mean, I liked it too, but that one, it took me a few times before I watched it all the way through.
Right.
So, and then this one I watched in one shot. So then I guess it would be The Beyond, House by the Cemetery, and then City of the Living Dead.
Yeah, that's my ranking too. Like, Beyond is for sure number one. And I've probably seen maybe like 8 or 10 Fulci films now. And yeah, Beyond and Don't Torture a Duckling are like the top. They're like tied for first place. But yeah, as far as this goes, I would give that same ranking just because City of the Living Dead, like when I first saw it, I really dug it. But yeah, like rewatching it for the podcast, it just felt way more weak. Like I think I enjoyed House a little bit more. Mm-hmm. But I feel like those are open to like swapping, maybe next year if I watch them again, depending on my mood, like maybe they'll easily kind of flip. But the Beyond is like the strong number one for sure.
Yeah. The Beyond had a bunch of stuff in it. And I think like for me, I enjoy semi shock value. I enjoy like little shocking things that happen that I wouldn't be expecting. Like the dog attack.
Yeah, right.
I was not expecting that. That came out of nowhere. Like that kind of stuff. I enjoy that in a movie where I'm like, what the hell?
It seems, again, interesting that that's kind of in the middle of these movies because of the three, besides the music being so epic, the whole movie's like, I feel like it has the most kills. It has the most characters, the settings. Like, I do love the setting of the house and the cinematography. Like, all of that is great here, but it's kind of contained, right? Like, we get just outside the house at the cemetery. We get the house, a little bit of the town and the library, but I feel like, in City of the Living Dead, it's like you have the bar with just like 3 guys and no one else.
You could cut them out completely and then it would not make a difference.
And then they're kind of on the road and there's the priest and all that, like those different locations. But the Beyond felt like it had more, like just more places to go, or the places were just more interesting aesthetically. And
it felt more like real in the world kind of thing. Like we go to these places because things are happening, not because, well, let's go cut over here and do this.
Yeah.
And sure. I think with the Beyond 2, like I really did. I liked the ending where they're just like, well.
Yeah, no, that ending's crazy. Ending's crazy.
It makes I think about it. I'm just like, wow.
It's so funny that that's not the last one. Even for that reason, like that ending feels like it would be like what closes the book on this idea.
Thank you.
Like House by the Cemetery should have been like the first one. City of the Living Dead should have been the second one. And Beyond should have been the finale.
I agree 100%. Like follow the cookie cutter, give people what they want. Okay, you can get a little crazy in the second one and then like wrap it up with the Beyond with that completely bleak, fucked up. And yes, chef's kiss.
Yeah. Damn.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, well, that's a wrap on this one, everyone. There it is. We did the Lucio Fulci's Gates of Hell trilogy. And it seems that the last episode of the Halloween season is going to be Terrifier 3.
Yes,
Hopefully.
I'm going to watch it tomorrow. I'm going to see it.
Okay.
Can't wait.
There is one part that I just remembered recently about it that like still makes me laugh. That I forgot about, and then I like remembered it again, but I just thought it was the funniest thing. It's in the first like 15 minutes of the movie. Maybe you'll know it when you see it. But anyway, yeah, that's a wrap on this one. Yeah, thanks for listening and cheers.
Cheers.
Thank you for listening to the Drinks and a Movie podcast. You can now find us on Instagram at Drinks and a Movie Pod, where we'll be posting photos from all the various films that we discuss. You can also email us at drinksandamoviepod@gmail.com. Please rate, review, and subscribe, and thank you for listening.